G'day everyone, this is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, the co-founder and CEO of Aureus Financial.
It's Sam Panetta here, the COO and co-founder of Aureus Financial.
And we're very excited to have our 13th podcast with our first international guest, Tara Romano. Tara's had a phenomenal story, is really a visionary in her space, is an inspiring leader in a number of industries, has had the ability to scale a YouTube channel with over 5 million views globally, has a very successful dance business specializing in Zumba, and has had a great career in network marketing, which is something that we're going to be focusing on today. So Tara, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Thank you guys. I'm doing really well. It's a lot later over here, but I have a lot of energy, and you guys are like so smiley, and like I can feel your energy just from the screen.
We're Australian. Smile. That's it's part of the stereotype.
I know. That's why I can't wait to get over there one day.
Fantastic. Well, you've had a really exciting journey, and it's great that we had the opportunity to have a chat about your journey. Of course, our podcast is all about talking about how entrepreneurs have got started, what their experience has been along the way, and what they've been able to achieve through the sweat off their brow. And I'm sure that probably resonates with you, given your experience and the things you've achieved.
Yes, of course, it does.
So tell us your story, Tara. What's got you to here?
Oh, gosh. So I just remember it so vividly, but every time I tell it, it just completely brings me back. So I went back to college at 29 to finish my health and phys ed degree. And during that time, I was bartending. I had been a bartender for 10 years. So when I went back to school, I was bartending full-time. I was going to school full-time, and I was working part-time as a fitness instructor. So I was quote unquote busy. I don't use that word anymore, but I was. And when I finished college, I was really excited to become a teacher for health and phys ed. And I was looking for a job for 2 years. I was more than qualified. I even created a Zumba program in the school. I had an electronic portfolio. Like, I just was so excited to do this. And at the time I was still bartending. And I just couldn't find a job. And during that time, my sister had this weight loss program. And even though I had been a fitness instructor, now I'm going on, oh my gosh, almost 19 years being a fitness instructor, which is kind of aging me. But she had this weight loss program and health program that she approached me with. And I was just like, I want nothing to do with whatever you're trying to sell me. I'm looking for a job. Like, I'm good. So she was just more concerned with my health, and I did have some weight to lose, even though I was a fitness instructor. I was a very much do as I say, not as I do fitness instructor. So like, I knew how to lose the weight, but I was running on Dunkin's, no pun intended, Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So she actually bought it for me for Christmas, this program. So of course I did it, and I actually had really, really amazing results with the products, and it was like awesome. I was fitting into clothes, like I could finally see like all my abs. Like, it was just great. And then she was telling me about a business associated with it called network marketing, and I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to be one of those people. Like, and I don't really know what I meant at the time. Like, I just think wasn't educated. Well, now I know I just wasn't educated about what network marketing actually was. But like, to me, it just seemed like salesy, like kind of something like that. So I was going on my 10th year bartending. I had just turned 33, and I still hadn't found a health and phys ed job. And I remember like actually standing behind the bar being like, how did I get here? And just for me, I just knew that I wanted to do more. I couldn't grow in the place that I was teaching my fitness classes at, meaning they wouldn't give me any more classes. They weren't going to give me a raise. So I felt like I was so capped on everything that I was doing. And I remember this night so vividly when I made the decision to try network marketing. I called my sister crying on a Saturday night at the place I was bartending at, which wasn't unusual. And I remember just saying, like, how am I here? This is just not where I should be. And she's like, if you don't try this business with me, like, you can find someone else to call and cry. And I didn't know who else I was going to call and cry. So, and I was just like, what do I have to lose? So I could still do everything I was doing and try this business out. So I started off by going to an event, and it was so funny because I'm like, this is just really weird. I remember seeing pictures of people and income, and I'm like, this is just so not even real. But I do also remember feeling really good when I left the meeting. So I still really didn't believe in it for a really long time, but I kept going back to these meetings that felt really amazing. And I went to one big one in California, and I more went because I wanted to see California and just meet people. And something really significant happened at this event. The woman on stage had said, look to your left and look to your right, because like more than 50% of the people that are here today will not be here. And I just remember quitting a lot of things. Like I had went back to college later in life. Like I just always started something and never finished. And I just didn't want to do that again. So I started taking the business seriously, and I got on more calls. I went to more events, and it really just took off from there. Like I fell in love. Now I'm in this business like almost 7 years, and it's completely changed not only my life, but just so many people that I love and I'm associated with. And I'm just so grateful for it.
And there's a lot of really cool points there. I think there's a really sharp contrast in network marketing, that there's some really negative connotations around MLM, and typically as soon as you say MLM or multi-level marketing, for those of you who haven't heard of it before, or network marketing, everyone says, oh, that's one of those pyramid scheme things, right?
Yes, I thought that too.
Look, I think that there's so much bias around the industry, because there are a lot of people in it that do it the wrong way. So, and I'm sure you've seen that in your experience. And so what allowed you to stick the course in spite of, I guess, all of that negativity that you probably would have got over the years?
Well, I definitely did it the wrong way too, and so did my sister, because we had no clue what to really do. And they have systems and things like that, but you try to do things on your own. And like I remember just copying and pasting a message and sending it to all these people. I don't even know how I still have friends left. And it's really funny that some of those people that I sent those messages to are in my business, which is even crazy in itself. So I remember the last time I had W-2 forms, I had 7 of them. So I tell you this because I just come from like a working family. We started working at 10 years old. I was washing dishes at my sister's boyfriend's family's restaurant. My father never had less than 2 or 3 jobs. So I'm just a worker in itself. So I didn't really know any other way to be than to just like work. So once I started something, to stop after that was just not something that I was going to do. And I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't know what I was doing. Like I remember posting on Facebook, like just really bad posts that like I remember in the beginning would get like 5 likes and 2 comments. It would be my sister and my best friend who are also doing the business. So the fact that my sister and my best friend were doing this with me was really huge, because it was almost like my sister like wouldn't let me quit. So I kind of borrowed the belief in myself from her, because I was like, what am I really doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. Like this is not working. And I would get paid like every now and again. But I think I didn't quit because I learned about personal development. Like I never knew. At 33, nobody told me I could do, be, or have anything that I wanted. I didn't know about Les Brown. I was meeting all these people. I'm like, this is really cool stuff. I thought I was just going to be like a throw out the ball phys ed teacher. And then, I was like, oh, I'll do that for like 5 to 10 years and then figure something else out. So I think honestly, between the support that I had from my sister and my team, and then the personal development side of it, like I didn't want to stop. And plus I was creating an income other ways. So it wasn't like I didn't have money to pay my bills and things like that.
It's funny that you mentioned when you first got started and you were on the social media and you had a couple of comments, a handful of likes. Anyone today who jumps on any of your social media, YouTube or your Facebook or anything like that, it's very active. You've got a massive following. You've achieved huge growth. How do you think you went from getting those 2 comments to where you are today?
Oh my gosh. And that's a big question I get. And I'll say it's consistency. I never took a day off. And I would say even on the days where I just, we all have them. We're humans, or days we don't want to get out of bed, like life happens. I never took a day off. And I always say to people, like, if you had a brick and mortar business, like you're not going to go and show up for work and then stop for like 3 days or a few weeks and then go back, you wouldn't have a business. So this is really the same thing, but it's not a clock in and a clock out business. But I really enjoy connecting with people and creating a community. And I did that through network marketing and dance and my fitness community. So again, my fitness classes, I started teaching 2 people, like my mother and my best friend or my sister, so then I kept doing it. Like nobody loves to show up for a class and have 2 people, but that's what you do in the beginning. But I feel like most people stop when that happens and they don't give themselves enough time to learn and grow. So to answer that question is I just didn't stop. I was very, very consistent, even when I was bad.
And that's super important, Tara. I think that there's so many similarities between network marketing and traditional entrepreneurship. And I think that given that multi-level marketing and network marketing has been tarred with such a bad brush in a lot of circles, people don't give it the credit that it's worth. And I've had a number of friends who've been very, very successful in network marketing. And I think people overlook the fact that some network marketing businesses have some of the best sales processes, systems and processes that you can then translate into any business. And I think one of the key points you touched on before was that personal development. I've been to a few of those network marketing events, and they are phenomenal. Like they invest so much money into that personal development, and look, of course, it is in some way fulfilling their own agenda, but they are trying to help people reach their fullest potential. And I think that's something that not only affects your ability to be a good network marketer, but any business owner can get value out of those things.
For sure.
So what do you think has been the most kind of profound lesson that you've learned to date through your business experience, I guess, namely in network marketing?
Oh my gosh, so many lessons. Because I always say that this business or any business is really parallel with your life. So a lot of what you're doing in your daily life, you're most likely doing it in your business. So if I have someone from my team, because I've been in this business for quite some time now, struggling, like I'll just ask them like what their day looks like. And I feel like we think we're doing productive work, but I mean, we live in a social media world, which I actually love. And I think if you utilize it the right way, it could be so beneficial. Like I grew both of my businesses really through social media. I mean, like I've gotten to travel all around the world specifically through that. So, but I think we can also do a lot of not busy work on social media and just kind of like play around, you're liking and commenting and you're like, yeah, I've reached out to people. So I learned like what real productive work is. And it's funny because in the beginning I said, quote unquote, busy. I'll never use that word anymore. I really like to use productive. So I've learned a lot of language in my own and other people. It's almost like you can really hear what people are saying when they're speaking. And I just learned that there's really no failure. It's just a lesson learned, right? But again, like I remember when I was younger, I was so different in the things that I did. I would quit really early. Like I said, I would start things and then I would just stop, like college being one of them. So when I finished that, I was like, oh my gosh, like how amazing that I did that. So I feel like I use all of these things that I learned in network marketing, like in my real life too, and then in my other business. So again, everything's just so parallel.
It's such a similar trait to a lot of the people that we speak to that are really successful, and just having that grit to continue pursuing something even when it's hard. That's probably one of the main determining factors between, those who succeed and those who don't. So it's just funny how that replicates through a lot of successful people that have achieved what they've set out to achieve.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we live in such a microwave world where people want things like right away. And if they don't, they'll kind of stop. So again, that's why I feel like only a small percentage of people will actually continue with this business. But, you can I just love network marketing. I never thought I would say that just because like you learn so much about yourself, and it's kind of like a personal development business with a compensation plan attached almost. I make a joke about that. But, if you find a good company and you really do your research, I just feel like I have a lot of moms with full-time jobs, kids that really do this business in pockets of their own time and do well.
So let's touch on that. So what would be your advice for someone out there who wants to get started doing this as maybe a side hustle or bringing in some additional cash flow? What would you advise them in terms of selecting the right company that's going to be congruent to them?
Oh my gosh, such a great question, because I feel like you have to love the company and you have to love the product that you're selling. More than 80% of the people that are in my business are product users. Like they didn't come into this business saying like, I want to, create another stream of income. Some people do, but the majority of people get really attached to the results from the products that they're using. So I think that's really important. So, figure out like what kind of industry you want to be in first of all, use that product and then do your research. So I think those are things you definitely have to do for sure. Like I love the owners of our company because they'll like sit right next to me and have a conversation and be right they've been in the field, like the owners, the son, and like they're at the events, like they fly out just as much as we do to speak and do events. So I love that they're like in the field with us and really know what it's like to grow this business. So I think that's really important. But yeah, in order to stay with it, like you have to be using the products for sure. And that's why it's so easy. Like I remember being really tripped up about sales. I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. I was a bartender for 10 years, so I kind of was. But it was this was like a little different. So because of my results and I just loved the products, it was just so easy for me to share them. Mm-hmm. And then it went hand in hand with again, my fitness business. I feel like they always crossed over. So it was just easy for me because I had clients who were looking to lose weight, and this kind of helped.
And I think that's a really important observation, Tara, that I think there's so many people out there that are always looking for kind of the next best thing for them. And they're trying to spread themselves too thin across too many different industries or too many different types of businesses. And it's very hard, for example, in my personal story, I was working as a financial advisor and wealth coach, but I had a fashion business online. And they're so polar opposite that ultimately I was burning the candle at both ends. And I think that what you said there is really, really important, that you need to make sure that everything does feed on itself. Otherwise, you're doing all of this hard work and pushing things in completely different directions. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are two very different industries. And it just kind of, for me, it kind of just fell into my lap like that. And it's funny because a lot of people think you have to be, you have to have network marketing experience, or you have to be a certain age, or like this person can do it and I can't. But if you look at the people doing this business, they come from all walks of life. Like I look at our team and everyone is just so different, like young. We have our 18 to 35, which is our start group. Number like one income earner is in his 80s. So it's just like, full-time moms, all different people doing this business. Wow. It's very inspiring. I think that to kind of connect some of the kind of the methodologies in scaling a network marketing business, I think it's best to relate it to how we coach our clients in terms of how they approach entrepreneurship. And we find that people have to go through being a technician first and then transition to being a manager, and then go from a manager to a leader, and then from a leader ultimately to an entrepreneur. So I think that most people in network marketing tend to fall off in that technician phase. They can't just get that, they can't go from that standing start and get the momentum to keep themselves going. So what would be some advice for people getting started in that kind of technician field stage, as you mentioned before, when they've chosen a company and have started representing it? It's such a good question. And it's funny because I've actually had people in my business creating a full-time income and stop. And just like completely stop. And I want to touch on that real quick. And I think for a number of reasons, they get full-time income. They actually leave their regular job, I think sometimes too soon, before they get the momentum and their a system of what they're going to do every day. So, and they're not putting in the work that they did in the beginning. And residual income is really powerful. It's like kind of like sweat equity. So it's like you do the work and you're still getting paid other ways, but you're making the money after. So they're creating this income and then they kind of just stop. But I think what's really important is systems. So and which our company does. Most companies do have pretty good systems of where you get started. It's not something that you have to sit and study and then go off on your own. It's like a learning as you go. So with that said, it's the support and community of your team, I think, is really, really huge. And our team, I'm really blessed for it. My sister created a really great community and team and systems for us. So we have people that aren't even directly linked to our businesses that we support. We have great systems to support on Facebook. We have meetings all the time, online, in person, which I love. I feel like I got to have, I had to have the belly to belly, stage of my life, but then have social media too. So I love both, but there's nothing like an in-person connection. So to have those meetings together are really great, especially bringing in new people. And we have that for the products and the business. And I really think it's the community that keeps people in it. There's some people that I know that do this business that aren't really growing a business, but they go to the meetings because of the community and the culture. Mm-hmm. No matter what you're doing in life, I personally feel like we crave that, that community connection, culture, tribe. And that's just I think that's what someone needs to find or create. I feel like you can totally create that as well. I think that's the hardest part. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. It's pushing themselves out of that comfort zone to be able to create that community potentially from nothing. Mm. I had a first-hand experience where I had some friends who were stuck in Europe that had done very well in network marketing, and that had only recently come to Australia. And because there was no momentum here, it was super difficult, and just heaps of people dropped off. They were creating a community from nothing. It's just one of those things that comes back to that previous point. You've just got to persevere, right?
Yeah, you do. And you just have to give it time. Again, like, I feel like we just always want something to happen quick. And I feel like for me, I didn't even start creating income for almost 2 years. Like, I really didn't. And then, we had momentum start to happen, but because we never stopped and we kept doing it and doing it. So like, really, essentially not much happened for quite some time, but we didn't stop, and we were enjoying ourselves. And we weren't, what's so funny? I would always say this, like, we never compared. We just, like, we weren't looking at what everyone else was doing. When we looked at what other people were doing, it's because we wanted to be inspired and we wanted to learn from them. And it's funny, I feel like after I started to create the success in it, that's actually when I started to compare more, because I'm like, oh, well, I have to do more and be more. So I actually got more tripped up after, like, years later, but it's all learning. I feel like I'm so addicted to learning and growing now. but yeah, I'm really grateful for our community and culture that we created.
So what came first, the fitness business or the marketing business?
My fitness business actually came first. It wasn't much of a business at first, but I left the gym that I kind of grew up in, that I learned from, because I was like capped. I only had 3 classes, and my classes kept growing, and they wouldn't give us a raise. And I loved teaching, and I wanted to teach more classes. And I hated to leave because it was, that was the gym I grew up in, but it was the best decision I ever made, because in leaving, I wound up teaching 20 plus classes at one point in 2 different counties. So I was, it was fun for me. And I got to meet so many people. And in that, I created my own fitness brand. It's actually called Tone Tease. It's just like sexy dance fitness for women. And it's just like, it's just become this really amazing thing that I present, I speak. And, if I was really afraid to leave, because when you're comfortable and enjoying yourself, you have big classes. Like, I went from having like 50 to 75 people in my classes to 2. Like, nobody wants to do that. But if I didn't do it, like, I never would have be experiencing the things that I get to experience now. And it was, yeah, it's scary, but it's so true. Like, the sayings and like quote tiles that we say, they really are true. It's, in moving past that uncomfortable feeling, that's where really the amazing things happen all the time. I never once regretted anything that I did, even if it didn't work out, because I've always either learned from it or grew from it.
And I think that's one of the things that plagues the current day and age, right? That I think that so many people are conditioned through their normal employment, through working under others, that we are chastised and we're punished if we make mistakes. But as entrepreneurs, the more mistakes we make, the more we grow. And being so tentative when it comes to making decisions as an entrepreneur is actually more counterproductive than if you were to make the mistakes along the way. And I think that's something that hopefully people like us, and particularly yourself, with having such a large audience that you can inspire and educate to the alternatives, is hopefully going to I guess, shift that and help people think more laterally moving forwards.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, sometimes people meet me now, like, they don't know the Tara years ago. So I always like to like sprinkle that into, anything that I share on a video, on a post, because it's really important to know. And especially when I go and speak, or even before I'm teaching a class, like, I just think it's important for people to know, where you came from, because we judge. It's just a part of what we do. And when we see someone, we're like, oh, it's got to be easy for her. Or like, of course she would be successful because of this, this, and this, but it's just not the truth. Like, I have challenges just like anybody, just like you guys do too. And it's funny because I always think back when I was a bartender, we used to have bar meetings, and we used to get yelled at all the time, like for whatever we did that was wrong. And now, like, I go to these meetings and it's just, everyone's lifting each other up, and it's just, it's so different and so true. But like, people still are comfortable in those jobs that they go to, whether they're happy or not, because they're even comfortable complaining. I know how that feels to just be like just to complain, and just that's just what you do. And I felt it when I was student teaching. I was like, okay, I'm like, this is just what it's going to be. Like, that's just what you do. You finish school, you get a job, whether you like it or not, you just keep going, and then you'll figure something out later, you know? So it's just so interesting how things unfold though.
It's really refreshing, and I think that's the way that Sam and I have kind of structured all of our content, is that you have to pay homage to the journey, because most people position themselves as who they are here and now, and they don't talk about what it's taken them to get there, all of the adversity that they've had to overcome in the process. And that's what I think people get so much value from, it being relatable, and it's a lot more inspiring to talk about how hard it was than just to celebrate all of your wins.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole hour on like all the things that, like the people that I did defriend me, or like when I had displays up, like I got made fun of and people would knock them down, like just so many different things, like, you know, and I wasn't as confident in the beginning when people would be like, oh, what are you doing? Network marketing? Like, it's never going to work. Are you doing one of those things, or just all these different things? And like, I'm a very sensitive person. So like, of course I would go cry to my sister again, and I would be like, wait, are we doing a pyramid scheme? I'm like, what is this? And then I would just educate myself though. And that's just the good thing too, is like, I didn't just feel all these things, get upset and just sit there and sulk. Like, I wanted to be educated about what I was doing. And I would make flashcards on so many different things. Like, I come from like a generation of making flashcards, and I did that in this business, and because I really wanted to learn. And when someone asked me a question, I wanted to be educated enough to like be able to answer them. And so I definitely took it seriously, and I'm so glad I did, because I wound up falling in love with this business, and it's just created so many other opportunities for me and people that I know. So it's great.
Well, you deserve your success. It's 20 past 10 where you are. 99% of the world doesn't work at 20 past 10. They're well on their third dream by now. How much would you put down your success to hard work?
A lot of it. But it's just, I never thought, like I said, I just come from that worth ethic. So I didn't really think about it much. But yeah, there were times like we have calls too. It's actually on Tuesday nights. We have calls till 11:30 my time. So it's like, it's just like, you just do it though, right? You don't, sometimes you don't even think about it. It's just what you have to do. And I feel like once you get into the productivity of what you're doing, and you start connecting with people, and you actually really help people. Because I feel like anytime I'm nervous to do something or I don't want to do it, it becomes not about me though. It's not just about me. It's about like who I'm going to help. And I just really have that drive to want to help other people, because I feel like if I could have this life and do this, anyone can. Like, I mean, I really feel that way. And I used to hear people say that, I'm like, you know, or whatever, roll my eyes, but it's the truth, because I'm no different than anyone, and just like you guys too, right? And it's just like what the work you put behind it and how often you're going to do it. It's not going to happen if you're going to do it 1 or 2 days a week, or maybe it will, but it's going to take you a little longer. So it's funny. I really don't watch TV. And when people are talking in classes about whatever it is, and I don't judge, I'm not going to lie. I do have a vice. I like the Real Housewives. Please don't judge me. But I don't watch it. Like, I'm not sitting in front of the TV all the time is what I'm saying. And I definitely cut out things that I would want to do. Like, you know, we would have weekend trainings or events, and I couldn't go out or something like that. But I didn't care, because it just made me happy.
And I think that what we've found is a really common characteristic for a lot of dedicated entrepreneurs like yourself is that although this is all about the journey, a journey is about a destination. So what's the means to an end for you, Tara? What are you working towards that you're investing all of this time and effort in pursuit of?
It's so funny that you say that, because like I think differently than I did even like just a year ago, because I used to always think there's a destination, like, oh, I'll feel so good when I have this or that. And I feel like even physically, like when I have the abs, when I have the money in the bank, when I have this. And I feel like a lot of people are like that. Like, they're waiting for the means to the end. But I truly feel now I'm like so appreciating the journey. So for me, actually, it's just being very present in where I am, because I feel like I've lived so much of my life in the past and like anticipating the future. And my brain is like on overdrive all the time. So like I find that when I'm really present in what I'm doing now, so I always have a goal like to work towards, but this is probably, and I've always have vision boards and things like that, but this is probably the first year I didn't go crazy with the goals. But for me, it's helping my team get to where they want to be. And really, I would love to really move my my dance business forward, because it really has an impact on so many women. So I love doing that. But for me, and what I always teach other people to, is just be as present as you can while you're having these goals, because I promise you, when you get there, it's not going to make you happy, because I've achieved a lot of the things that I've wanted to, and I've gone through stages of feeling just not happy. So you have to just make sure you stay true to that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's really important. One of my mentors once told me, you ask for what you want, you take what you get, and then you ask again. And I think
love that.
Most people tend to always pursue something, they get it, and it's not really what it was all cracked up to be. And then they're constantly in this, I guess, somewhat of a miserable state, because there's no fulfillment there. And all of this is about fulfillment. And from what you've said this whole time, it's not about the residual income. It's not about the amount of money that you make. It's all about that level of fulfillment you get from building the community and giving back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The good thing about that is that if you do that and you're passionate about what you do, the money comes anyway.
Isn't that the truth, though? And you know, the greatest thing about it was, I remember teaching those 20 plus classes and like completely needing every single penny, right? And now I get to teach, and I teach for free a lot. I do tons of fundraisers. I've given so much money away to all different charities. It's just the best feeling. Like, one of our biggest ones is for Make-A-Wish, we do every year. And I think we all just get so emotional, like, with the amount of money that we raise, like, and the money we put into renting the room and setting it all up. It's the most fulfilling thing that has ever come from this, like, that all the people that you can help. My dad just got really ill, which made me move from California back to Jersey, and we were able to help him and like stay with him, and just all these things that happen because you don't make it about yourself and you do it for the right reasons. So like, the fact that I might be up till like whatever hours, whatever night, it's just that kind of pushes you through.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to look at it. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people get to that point where it's no longer about, you know, what can I do for me, but what can I do for everyone else? And I think when your brain, when that switch flicks, you just change. I think you change as a person, all your actions change. Let's talk a little bit about your dance business. Yeah, we haven't spoken about it much. Tell us a little bit about it.
So I created that when I left the gym a few years back, and the girl who owned it, she's like, I want you to bring in something new. So I was like, all right, something new. Like, all right. So I'm going on the internet, like what kind of dance classes? So I created Tone Tease, and it kind of evolved over time. It's just like basic fitness and dance moves with like a sexy edge, but it's not just like It's not just about the dance moves. It's really my message behind it. So like, even before I start class, and even before I wake up, I always have intentions to start the day. So I do that in the class. So even before I turn the music on, we stand up, we have like some power moves, we do some intentions. So it kind of gets them like loosen up, because I can't ask them to like take their hair down and like flip it or like do all these sexy moves if I'm not like opening them up first. And I create this really safe space for women. And, you know, I feel women and men, but, you know, mostly women come to this class, like they tend to not put themselves first, because, you know, like all the different hats they wear throughout the day. So I ask them to just make this, you know, hour or however much time we have about them, and like just get back in touch with that side that they might not remember that they have. And it's just like, it's really powerful. I've watched women transform in just minutes. And it's so funny, because every single time it happens, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it's just really powerful. And I do this one event in California, and this year there was like 500 women, and it was probably the most powerful one. Like, I really have great stories of them coming up to me and like letting me know what it's done for them. So I just feel so strongly about like moving this forward, and I train other instructors to teach this. So I started doing that. So I'm really excited about it. And it's because I left that gym that I was so afraid to leave that created this.
That's cool.
What I've kind of noticed throughout our conversation, Tara, is that you kind of have this leadership that you just kind of feed out into everyone. And from our conversation, you're very inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
Have you always been that way, or is this something that you've had to create for yourself through your journey?
You know, maybe I always was a little bit this way. I know that I was always super, super creative and very hardworking. Like, I mean, I've been making up dances since I was 10, asking my sister to come like watch me. And when I moved to a new area, I made this like show, and handed out flyers. Like I've always just been very, very creative and always wanted to do things. So that for sure. So I guess maybe now that I think back, like I probably had those qualities, but just didn't know what to do with them or even understand what they were. But they've definitely helped me out in my, like now that I'm older and doing these businesses. So, and it's funny, I was talking to somebody about that last night. My 6th grade yearbook, it said, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I said, a dancer. And I'm like, I'm kind of doing it, which is it's really cool. On like a different scale, but it's still just so fun to look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I really put that when I was 10.
Fantastic. So I think that particularly for our female audience, and I think that the world of business, whether it be network marketing or entrepreneurship in general, it is a man's world, right? And it can sometimes be very difficult for women to stand up and be powerful leaders and inspiring leaders, given that kind of doubt that they may have. So in your experience, what would be your advice for them to be able to stand up and be respected and be themselves and create something like you've created for yourself?
Well, I do think that's changing a lot. I feel like it's getting equal a little bit. But I mean, I feel like I would say the same to like a man or a woman. I just think like getting clear on what it is that you want. I feel like you have to have a vision and kind of hone in on that. And like the group of people that you want to inspire. I remember years ago when someone said the word avatar to me, like who's your avatar, the person that you want to like connect with. So I actually know exactly who that is. So because I think that we all connect to different people, like who you guys are going to connect with might be different than I do, but some might overlap, right? So just getting clear on who it is you're reaching out to, what you want to share, like what it is that you're interested in. And I feel like there's something for everyone, right? I just feel like everyone has something that they can, like, whether it's building a business on. And it's so funny that, I think you mentioned this at the beginning, I recall, maybe before we got on, but like building a business and network marketing are very different. And I feel like I'm doing both. And I've found network marketing a lot easier in the sense as it's helping me grow my other business. That's, so different because there's so many different things that happen, but also, again, coming into the support and community, like you need to like get a good team of people. I know that when I first started the dance business, because it was so different than network marketing, I was interviewing people. I reached out to people. I asked questions. I wasn't afraid to. And I know some people didn't answer me. Some people didn't get back. But the ones who did were so willing to give me so much information that I needed. And still to this day, I can call them back. And people do that to me too. They want help. And I'm just so more than happy to share with them. So I think that was big for me as well. Like just not being afraid to reach out.
You're obviously very passionate and you look like you're really enjoying this, the journey that you're on. What's next? What's in store for Tara Romano?
So I really want to concentrate on my Tone Tease brand for sure. Obviously, I'm still always going to be continually building my network marketing business. That will never change because I just love my team. I love bringing on new people. But I have such a passion for speaking and teaching this class and just watching people in front of me, like instantly get something out of it. I think it's powerful for both of us. So I'm going to work on that and training more instructors and just getting out there and speaking more and teaching.
Beautiful. Excellent. So if you had to give some gold nuggets of advice to our audience based on your whole experience, what you've created through your dancing business, through your thought leadership, through the network marketing, what are some valuable lessons that you'd like to pass on?
Yeah. Anytime I get asked this question, I always say the same thing. And I said it before, is like, just be consistent. Be so crazy consistent and committed to doing it every single day, especially on the days that you don't want to, because like time's going to go by anyway. And even if you do a little bit, and I know that there's a saying, like, I don't know exactly what it is, but like if you do something like just a little bit every day, as opposed to if you just do it like once in a while, like you can compare it like the gym. If you go to the gym like for a week out of the month, like, great. But if you did it like a little bit every day, like that's where you're going to get the results. So I think that's huge. And, I think that we compare a lot. Again, social media, it's just so easy to do. Like everyone's life looks so perfect, right? But we don't really know what's happening. So if you're going to like look at people's businesses or their profiles, like do it to get inspiration. There's always going to be someone doing it faster or better or whatever you think in your mind. But I just think that we can get a lot by by connecting with people and following them. So I feel like that is definitely big. It was for me.
Beautiful.
Great advice.
And if our audience wants to follow your journey, follow more about what you do, and obviously get in touch, whether it be through the network marketing, to be able to get more information about your team and what you've created, how are they best to find you, Tara?
Yeah, I mean, I'm across the board on social media as Tara Romano. I'm like most active on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So get in touch with me there. I'm always around.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Well, we've learned a lot through the experience. I think that in this kind of short period of time, we've been able to overcome a lot of the negative connotations around network marketing. I think that it's really a breath of fresh air for myself, given that I've been contacted so many times, I've probably lost count. By a lot of people who are doing network marketing the wrong way and probably for the wrong reasons, for that matter. So I think that a lot of the things that you've said are just going to show that it is what you make of it. And I think that's a really good life lesson for business in general, what it is that you're trying to do. It's all about how you enter it and how, I guess, how you hold yourself in doing anything in life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been very inspiring and we really appreciate your time. And
thank you, guys.
We'll hopefully have you on the show again soon to hear more about your phenomenal journey. And thank you once again for listening in and watching our episode 13, and we'll catch you next time.